thank you everyone for joining us for this conference today, the online teaching revolution during the COVID-19, a new era for African education. The idea is that when the coronavirus pandemic broke out, according to the UNESCO, a lot of world population students were locked out of school, around 1.5 billion learners, which represent 91% of the world student population. And also in Africa, almost all schools were closed. Everyone was looking for ways, new ways to continue school. And the only one possibility, only one alternative that was available to everyone was the online teaching. But we have a history of online teaching in Africa. Is the prevailing resistance on multiple grounds. There were some resistance due to limited access to technology. People were all pretending that Africa didn't have technology, so we could not actually integrate technology into education. And also, we also argue that teachers are not trained, administration is not trained, like all the school staff is not trained, so we couldn't use technology. And then there's a tech phobia that many experts talking about. Many people don't want to use technology because maybe they're afraid of the change. But then all the world government were asked to design emergency plan to respond to the challenges of education during the COVID-19. So here, for example, according to a report by the Association of the Development of Education in Africa, ADEA, many countries, okay, the report just addressed these countries, but almost all the countries in Africa try to address the problem of the COVID, but these countries like Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Mauritius, Morocco, Rwanda, Senegal, South Africa, Tunisia, and Zambia. They try to design plans to respond to the challenges of the COVID-19. The response teams came up with various emergency plans depending on available technologies and expertise in each country. Of course, every country has its own context. The context in Morocco and Tunisia were different from the context in Cote d'Ivoire or Burkina Faso. But basically, we're going to discuss some of the technologies and the features, the challenges of this technology and the successes that we observe during this period. So the features of the response in Cote d'Ivoire, for example, and in some other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, what we observe is that online video conferencing platforms were used, social media platforms, live video dissemination platform, learning management systems, and then resource sharing platform. The next coming slides are going to dive a little bit in details into these different technologies that were used. So the first one was online video conferencing. In higher institution, what we observed was that teachers were using and were encouraged earlier during the COVID-19 to use video conferencing to continue school, to maintain the contact with their students. And in big cities, in urban areas like Abidjan, it pretty much worked very well. And because the teachers could organize live meeting with their students, for some of the students, that was new and it was motivating. I remember someone commenting said, that's the first time I'm having a class remotely in a video, and it's really fun. Teachers are able to hold discussions, live discussions, and present their lessons. There were some interaction with the teacher and students. And that is some of the positive side of video conferencing. However, during conferences, some also challenges with video conferencing applications due to the context in Africa. Personally, I didn't experience any Zoom bombing, but it was very, very popular. One of the drawbacks of using Zoom, one of the most used applications during the period of online teaching. Actually, Zoom bombing is when uninvited people suddenly join a meeting and show undesired content, sometimes showing pornography or something that actually people don't want to see. And I think this has brought Zoom to update its application and then add some more recommendation on how to organize Zoom conferences. That's one reason I think the American Corner has a subscription form so that they can limit the number of people who can join Zoom. And Zoom also in our African context is a data greedy application, which means light users will necessarily experience difficulties. Users who live in areas where connection is not reliable, obviously will have more problems. And sometimes, because the teachers were not trained, it was difficult to focus on pedagogy, just focusing on delivering a lesson, delivering lessons like a lecture. So only some experienced teachers were able to organize actually lessons like e-learning or video lesson. A second application that was widely used, that's social media platforms. The most used social media platforms was WhatsApp. As we go on, we will comment on some of the challenges, of course, and then some of the benefit. People use WhatsApp to share resources. In some countries, the best practice, according to for me, the best practice is what happened in Niger, a country where the government decided to use WhatsApp to support education, to share resources, summary of essential courses, exercise, and support students and parents. Also, and what they did is that they organized the WhatsApp in different groups and in different layers. Means there's some national group that gather all the decision makers and teacher trainers at a certain level, and there were regional WhatsApp, and then there were school level WhatsApp. That's something that I wished we could have done the same thing in Cote d'Ivoire at the school level. It doesn't disconnect the students and the teachers. Unfortunately, in many of the cases, teachers were disconnected. teacher and student were disconnected because there was no way to talk to the teachers. And that's why we said that Niger actually had a very good practice. Some of the successes of WhatsApp in Cote d'Ivoire, some private schools also use WhatsApp to record video lessons with their cell phone, mobile phone. For those who don't have sophisticated devices, they just record video lessons, like between 5 to 8 minute lessons. And then the picture lessons written on the blackboard. It's like they are creating the classroom environment with the blackboard. The teacher will write with the different colors, with the scenario on the blackboard, and then they will picture it with the cell phone and send to parents via the WhatsApp group. They also send exercises and keys to exercises. The WhatsApp group also help the communication between school and parents. Because actually, WhatsApp is very well known in Africa, I think. But there were also some issues due to the fact that we were not prepared to this situation, and we were used to using WhatsApp as a social media, to socialize, to send pictures and videos to our friends and family. And this was different to use WhatsApp as an educational tool. So there was also this temptation to socialize. As soon as the WhatsApp group is created and people were locked down in their homes with the isolation, they were trying to reach out through the WhatsApp and socialize a bit. And this was disturbing for, the objective for which the WhatsApp group was set. One lady in one WhatsApp group in a school made this comment in French, but I try to translate it into English. This group is supposed to be, this group is supposed to be a place to receive lessons, maybe someone from is more, lesson from the school. If everyone starts chatting, we'll end up with lots of readings. After this, everyone started to understand that, yes, actually, we should remain focused on the lessons and communication between, and maybe asking for help between parents, etc. And some other issues that was observed was the practicability of WhatsApp lessons. Schools, some WhatsApp groups were managed by school, sometimes the school secretary, who wasn't an instructor, wasn't a teacher, not trained in pedagogy at all. So the lessons were dumped into the groups like this. So I have three videos plus 40. So I don't know what the 40 other things coming, probably pictures, probably video, and there's no structure. So it's very difficult for younger children to read this kind of structure, and also difficult for the parents who have limited competence in technology and also literacy. Using WhatsApp actually is very intuitive. So we use the basic functions of texting or audio or picture, but having educational content and being able to advise a kid, it won't be easy for parents with limited literacy and probably who doesn't know anything about pedagogy. And the support from the school was totally absent. They won't imagine that parents will need support. So content is not well structured, and sometimes the pictures were very poor quality. It was difficult to see. Some of them will pick a picture many times, so actually you don't know which lesson is that, and then you keep going through the pictures again and again. One way we can advise how to structure a WhatsApp group is to use the tools in WhatsApp. For example, here in this picture, you can use date just to separate different lessons. So you put the date like it's here, and then put the lesson of today, and avoiding to dump many lessons, at the same time. But you can post lesson every day, or I don't know, every hour, depending on how urgent it is. Titles, we can use emoji to create visual effects, so that, for example, if I put video geography, le peuple de la savane, I might put, I want to put the lessons, the video here, and then write another title, and then add the lesson, the picture, and then the exercise, so that the parents, at least, who is able to read the text, knows exactly what the media is about. So, for example, here, process document when it's possible. Some schools try to process document and exchange with parents on Google Drive, for example, which was also a very good practice. And then at the end of the lesson, we can mark the end, so that when I come back later and try to see the lessons, I know one lesson starts here, and then the lesson ends here, and another lesson starts here. Many children didn't find the lessons that actually they have to copy, because it was difficult, it was not well organized. So that's for WhatsApp. We're trying to summarize things. And then there were live video platform. Live video platform is one example in Cote d'Ivoire. It was the first time. They've been teaching with television in the past. I personally went to what they call école télévision, means we had TVs in the classroom. That was a different type of pedagogy in the 70s or 80s, something like this. But this time, government will broadcast videos on TV, on the national television, supported by Facebook. And according to their own report by the national TV, students effectively followed the lessons on TV, which was good. But they also raised issues themselves that from the feedback they got from the parents and the students, lessons were fast. There were no interaction between the teacher and the students. Some students wanted to ask questions, but it wasn't possible. The time on TV was too short, sometimes 15 minutes, and then sometimes the parent will use his cell phone to record the TV screen. I believe that today we could have uploaded the video somewhere, or made it, but the parent will record the TV screen so that the kids can watch the video later. You can see for those who learn with video, is that one advantage of video is to be able to read and repeat and repeat and repeat. But on TV, it wasn't possible. Children could not repeat, And according to the World Bank, not everyone have access to television in regions like Cote d'Ivoire, in many regions in sub-Saharan Africa, only 26% of the population. So the programs actually, if we consider this data, could not reach many other populations in remote areas in Cote d'Ivoire. And then there were learning management systems. The most used, the most popular LMS in Cote d'Ivoire is Moodle. A Moodle was created to share resources and make textbooks available to parents. This is the Moodle of Cote d'Ivoire. Like you can see, K-12 school, CM2, troisième, and terminal. Basically, you can see CM2 is the end of primary school, troisième, the end of middle school, and terminal. So, like, l'école, maison, plateforme de ressources pédagogiques, only resources, no interaction, nothing at all. No teacher on the platform, but just an IT specialist who will upload a book, a textbook, or a PDF document on the platform, and then parents will go there, choose the level, and download, and try to help the kid learn. I talk about Google Docs. Some schools, like this one, they share platforms, they share document resources on Google Docs, like you can see, 6e, 5e, etc., etc. So these are the technologies, basically, that were used in Cote d'Ivoire and in part of Africa, not all of them, but some where we heard of. After this, we're going to discuss about cross-technology perspective. We gave some advantages, the benefit, and then challenges of each technology and how it was used. Now, in terms of educational technology, what are the challenges? What were the most difficult things that happened during the COVID-19? COVID-19, we say. 19 is French, right? So when we look at the teaching that happened during that period, that many people call homeschool, some people say online teaching, but I don't think it was really online teaching, but I prefer the term homeschool. During this period, learning was very difficult, like steep learning curve for students, for teachers, for everyone, administration, because we were not prepared to use technology in the past. And people had to learn the technology in a very short time to learn how to manage students remotely, and most of all, to co-teach with parents, teaching with parents. When we were talking previously, the parent will get the resource and then share with his kid, for younger children, for example. Sometimes, even if they didn't get any support from the school or from the administration, but normally they should have, had some counseling or something like that. Parents with less competence in technology, a lot of illiterate parents still in Cote d'Ivoire. I believe, according to studies who report that 50% of the population in Cote d'Ivoire is illiterate, only 50%. So those who are not illiterate and with no support from school, the children, I believe, they can have access to homeschool, since you have to teach yourself, to teach your children yourself. It was hard to access by remote populations, hard to access. And classroom effect were removed. And then a new mediation was added, like technology and parent. So normally in a normal classroom, you have the teacher in his classroom with his students, and then we have administration around. But then with the COVID-19, the classroom was removed completely, and then the classroom was replaced by technology and parents. That's what I call the new mediation. So how to understand this new mediation? how we could not understand this radiation, because we didn't know how to use the technology itself. And then the parents even also have less knowledge in technologies. Yeah. So a lot of challenges, but how we see it is that these challenges should be new opportunities. It's a new opportunity for Africa today. The fact of using technology after years of resistance is a big leap forward for African education. We observe new attitude toward technologies, willingness to experiment, overcome the fears and then thinking about new infrastructures. Some parents sharing the cell phone with their children to copy lessons, to learn. Government building platforms. Governments in some countries where cell phones were normally forbidden, social media was viewed as no possibility to integrate in the classroom. We decided that we could use social media to educate the children, and that's what I think is a big leap forward. Also, discovering and trying new tools. It's something new, and it's a new opportunity. Training, because we realized that we needed training to continue, so we started to train our teachers. Rising communities of practice. I was invited to join many communities of practice, either general teaching or English itself. One of the community that I wanted to mention here is a teacher community that gathered 11,000 people in 3 days. And things like this did not exist in the past. 11,000 in 3 days. And in this community today, there are 27,000 teachers on a Facebook community of teachers, all the teachers, and many are from Cote d'Ivoire, and then sub-Saharan countries like Burkina Faso, Benin, Togo, etc., etc. And in these communities, teachers are discussing their everyday problems. Could be socio-economic, but it could also be pedagogy. And this is one thing. This is what I call new opportunity. Two different groups of English teachers. Teachers started to connect to other countries during the COVID-19 and creating study groups. And that's actually a new opportunity. So during the COVID-19, what happened and what is happening today, why I'm talking about opportunity is from the school stability in the past, where we had our classroom, we'll go to classroom, and then the COVID-19 came and caused this fear, this disequilibrium, to borrow this term from Piaget. And then with the response, we create a new form of stability, because now there's a tentative to have a set, during that we built during the pandemic. We have platforms for high school today in Cote d'Ivoire. This platform can be exploited in the future and prepare teachers, prepare students for the future. Study groups and new work groups are being created. Community of practice, new partners like the UNESCO, like ADA, new human resources, and then attitude change. So the response has created a new stability where, I guess we can discuss this and say we are still in the disequilibrium, but there are different level of stability. We are not totally in the stability, we might be in a disequilibrium, but if we focus on these assets that we have, then we will reach the stability in the future. So a few things I can recommend very, very quickly is to seek advice from educational technology specialists. Administration cannot teach with technology unless they are trained. A secretary, or the school director. That's many of the things that happen, and that's why there was this kind of problem. Train technology specialists. We need to train our teachers. We need to train our administration. And why not creating these technology specialists in schools? In Europe, or I don't know, Western countries, there's sometimes instructional designers in school, or technology specialists. I see this all the time in my LinkedIn, where they send me links and say, this school here needs a technology specialist. This school here needs an instructional designer. I believe it's time here in Africa, it's time to start doing the same thing, hiring and training technology specialists that will be in a school. But the IT is not a educational technology specialist. But so far, we consider IT as the team that is to care about educational technology, which I believe is not focused more on accessible technologies. For example, the mobile phone, among all the technologies that were used, only the mobile phone has a wired access in Africa, almost 71%, according to the World Bank. Television, 26%. Radio, which we didn't use much. We didn't use much podcasts. We didn't use much of audio during the COVID-19. 58% of people, can have access, but it's easy to acquire a radio device. Even some basic cell phone have radio. And then start to develop understanding of teachers' role in a very specific context of Africa. When we're using technology and we're changing the mediation, and then we're involving the parents, what should be the teacher's role in this specific context where some parents are illiterate? So what should be the behavior? And we should start to develop such understanding. Creating content accessible offline. Most of the things we did was online. Maybe we must focus more on offline, accessible offline content. And also, connection is still expensive. A lot of people and teachers cannot afford. In countries like Senegal, there's some effort to reduce internet costs when you are connecting to educational content. And this is good. Making this accessible, making this cheap, will be helpful for African students. And to conclude, the lockdown caused by the COVID-19 has opened opportunity for African countries to think of how to support education with technologies. It's an opportunity for us. And we should understand that unnecessary, sophisticated, and complex technology infrastructures must not deter African education from trying alternative means, focusing on the problem that we are looking to solve. Technology is to solve one specific problem, but using sophisticated technology without knowing the specific problem that we want to solve will not benefit anyone. And the perception that we should not be using technology due to accessibility, we should reconsider that. I think it's wrong, but what we should do rather is to redefine our objective and focus on the technology that is best. We could use audio on cell phone, because even a face-to-face video lesson is without interaction could have been done using audio, which will consume less data, and then which is easier to share, and then people can download and listen again and again. You know, so the COVID-19 has demonstrated that preparation should start now. Let's choose the just in case mind. We learn the technology just in case something else happens. That's where I will end for today. There's more to say, but let's stop here for today. Thank you very much for listening. If you have questions and you have any comment,